What is up, everybody? It's me, Trigger Happy Gamer, and today we are doing another story time. This one is about when I was little and how stubborn I am. If you know me personally, you know that I was the only unplanned baby in my family. So, my mom found out, it was only 9 months after she had my older brother that she found out that she was pregnant again, and she was like, first thing she said, she's like, I knew you were gonna be a girl because no boy is that stubborn. I was like, oh, thanks, Mom. Anyway, so I was born a stubborn baby. I stubbornly slept all the time. I still do that. But this first story happened when I was probably 3 to 5. I was a very angry child, especially towards women. Don't know why. Like, that's not a fact, I guess. I wanted to be daddy's girl, and my mom would... I can blame it on my aunt. I know for a fact I can blame it on my aunt, because my aunt would always tease me for throwing tantrums, because it was before she was married. She would tease me about throwing tantrums, saying nothing was ever that sad, and I'd get mad at her and storm off because she wasn't giving me attention. So I guess I can blame my aunt for that. But these first two stories, they're pretty short, so I'm gonna go over them. I hated my mother, and for some reason, and it was ridiculous because it's my mother, but whenever she'd tell me to do something, I'd insult her. So these 2 times, one of them, we were swimming in this little, like, inflatable pool, and my mom was telling me to get out, and I didn't want to get out, so I started throwing a tantrum, and she was like, Tori, you're getting out, or you're grounded. And I was so stubborn, I was refusing, and so she threatened to spank me, so I had to climb out, and I go, you're not a mom, you're a monster. I also called her a lady butt on a separate case similar to that one. I just climb out of the pool and go, lady butt. Oh, a piano. This one, there are 2 more stories that are much longer. Talking about my aunt again, I love her, but it was her wedding. I was probably about 5, and the photographer is trying to get me to be all frenzy with my aunt, and that's not happening because I hate my aunt at this point in time. Like, I would scream, I would fight. Like, there was no normal moment when I was around my aunt because I did not like her. I had decided in my mind that I didn't like her, and if you acted any way similar in a way that I didn't like, I would call you her name. All the aunts would get into one room and ask who they were, and I'd just automatically say her name because, well, I didn't like her. So, I love my aunt now. If you're watching this, I love you. But I was probably like 5 at the time of this one, and the photographer was trying to get me to give my aunt a kiss for her photo, and so the photographer has a picture of me and my aunt leaning down in her wedding dress trying to give me a kiss, and me leaning really far away because I wasn't allowed to move. So instead of like backing away because I'd get in trouble, I just leaned really far back. Hi, train. It is probably my favorite just because of how me that is. But this last story, as a terrible child, before we go, I have one more story, and this one will probably make a lot of people laugh. Don't laugh, it's not funny. I'm a terrible child. Okay, I was probably about 6 or 7 when this story takes place. I was in church because my family's religious. I was in church, and that's a whole nother story. And so I was in church, and I'm sitting in one of the little benches, and and I start throwing a tantrum, probably because I hated the dress that I was wearing, because my mother loved to pick out itchy dresses. If I can remember one thing from my childhood, it is the amount of itchy dresses I have. Oh, I peeked my mic, I apologize. Anyway, so So I start throwing my tantrum, and my mother's like, oh, I'm gonna take her out into the lobby because she's throwing a big tantrum and causing a scene. So she slings me over her shoulder. I'm probably about 5 at this time, like a sack of potatoes, just like hanging there, pounding on her back with my tiny fists, screaming and like telling her to put me down or something. And it's one of those moments at that point where you can hear a pin drop. You know, it's so quiet. You could hear a mouse sneeze or something like that. And, you know, and I get this biggest smile on my face. And I scream, Mom, please don't beat me again! And then I got dragged out and my mom forgot the rest of my childhood. So I don't have many stories from my childhood like all my other siblings. Like, oh, the most I know about my childhood are those 4 stories, and my first word was duck. At one time I had my eyes dilated for 3 days straight because they put in way too much medicine or dilation drops in my eyes. So I had to wear sunglasses indoors for 3 days. But, you know, those are the only stories I have of my childhood because I was being stubborn, I was being a butt, and I'm a bratty child. I love my family now. I was a very pessimistic child. So, those are just some stories from how my stubbornness caused my mother embarrassment. Mostly my mom, because she forgot, like, my entire childhood after that. I have snippets of memories, but not many. I mean, I was right in guessing my sister's gender, so... I mean, that's, like, the only memory I really have of my childhood. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching. Stay classy, don't be stubborn. See you later, my subscribbles. Bye.